Hello friends, AmyR here with Prairie Paper and Ink with another Simon Says Stamp embossing folder and cutting dies video. They released several in their June 2022 Let's Chill release, and like I promised, I am gonna try and do a video for every single one of them because I loving them. So this one, of course, is the Graceful Butterflies embossing folder. And like I do with all of Simon's embossing folders, because it varies depending on the brand and your die cut machine, all the things. There's always, just FYI, there's always info listed with the product, you know, on Simon's site, and it'll say, like, it lists different sandwich options for different machines, because, you know, we've all got different things. But yeah, for me, I use my Spellbinders Platinum 6, the platform, and 2 metal shims with my embossing folders. And I always lightly mist my cardstock with water. Just a couple spritzes of water. It gives it that little extra moisture so that the cardstock doesn't crack when it's embossed, as well as it gives a deeper impression. So after I've embossed it, I'm using the coordinating wafer dies, and you just kind of shimmy them into place. Also a note, I'm using my Spellbinders Best Ever Craft tape. I love this stuff. I've actually just finished off my first roll. I'm on my second roll now. Regardless of what you're using to tape down your dies, when doing things like this, and if the cardstock is still a little bit damp, which mine was just barely, try to avoid getting the tape on the inside, like on the actual what will be die cut. It's just a pain in the butt. The pressure, you know, the pressure of the die cut machine's like pressing that tape in. Usually not a big deal at all, especially with the Spellbinders tape. But again, because my cardstock wasn't fully dry, it's like the tape was like fusing to the cardstock, which all the outer parts doesn't matter, but the actual die cuts, it's just annoying. So I thought I would mention that. Wasn't the end of the world though. I got my die cuts, die cut, and then I stick them back in the embossing folder. They just kind of shimmy into place. You've got the little raised edges and stuff, and you don't have to do this step, but it does, you know, bring back some of the raised elements. They're all still there after die cutting. You can still see them. There's still texture, but if you emboss them a second time, it does bring it out just that little bit more. So for me, it's worth the few extra seconds of effort. So after I'd re-embossed them, I just used some scrap paper, and I'm using some of Simon's Pawsitively saturated inks and their small blending brushes. These were the ones that were originally released, because Simon did a set of large and a set of small back last year, whenever they come out. Anyway, using the blending brushes and these inks to easily ink blend all these butterflies. And this first combo is Surf ink, Orchid ink, which is one of the new purples, and then Sweets, which is like one of my fave pinks. And this combo just makes me happy. It's very Lisa Frank. Someone mentioned that in one of my recent videos as well. She was like, this reminds me of Lisa Frank. I'm like, yes. Love. I used to collect that. So this is why I love paper crafting. And I wish, I don't know what happened to my entire Lisa Frank collection. I had a lot of it back when I was a kid. But anywho, I'm not going to dwell on it. It makes me sad. I did all this ink blending on these butterflies. I was originally just going to leave them like this, like just ink blend, because the colors are fabulous. They smooth out even more as they're drying, and they're so intense, and I don't know, this combo was making me happy. However, one fun way to bring out a bit more of the texture is to use some pigment ink and a brayer. This was a little trick I picked up from, I think it was Jennifer McGuire's, one of her recent videos. So I just took a white craft pigment ink and my little Tim Holtz brayer, because this is the little one, and then there's like a medium sized one, and I just roll the brayer in the pigment ink, and then you just roll it over, whether it be a die cut like this that's been embossed, or like an embossed background. Either one works, and you don't press hard with the brayer, you just roll it over. And all the raised edges that have been created by the embossing folder, those pick up the ink, leaving the rest uninked. So I've got the, you know, blend of the inks, and then the white pigment on top just picks up all of that raised texture. And because I ink blended these butterflies with a water reactive ink, like the positively saturated inks. As that white craft ink dries, it will absorb a little bit into those colors. So it's not quite so, you know, white and not quite so harsh. It still looks fabulous, but it does soften a little bit too. So you still see like all those fabulous colors, and these were a lot of fun. I really enjoyed this. I said it about like every card I do, you know? But anyway, my second combo is Tropic, which is like a greeny aqua color. Love. Amethyst, just a deeper purple. And then Galaxy, which is also one of the new colors, which is just, oh, again, chef's kiss. Like such a deep, deep blue, like pretty much navy almost. And this combo, yeah, really loved it. So I did the exact same thing, blended all my little butterflies, and then I took the white pigment ink, and did I mention this? I've had to redo this voiceover more than once because of just technical issues. Anyway, this is Sharktooth White by Ink on 3. Ink on 3 inks, side note, fabulous. I have done previous videos with them. I have all of the colors. They're amazing. There's not a whole lot of colors in this. They're very unique, different to other inks. I'm not going to go into those right now. I just wanted to mention that. But any white craft ink is going to work. Anywho, as I let my butterflies, like the craft ink, dry on those, I took some more white cardstock and Simon's tin tile stencil, and I used the tan embossing mat and the purple shim that come with my Platinum 6. Again, it depends on the machine, but I have my embossing mat on the platform. I've misted my cardstock with water. I placed that on the tan mat, and then my stencil, and then the purple shim, and I also run this through my die cut machine, and this embosses the stencil design into the cardstock. It's a very subtle effect, but I love it. And every time I do it, I'm reminded like, oh, this is such a great way to get more use out of your stencils. And it's also a great way to create a subtle background because, you know, I want the butterflies to be the focus. So I've done my backgrounds. My sentiments are from the Thinking of You sentiment strips. I need to order more of these because I've like chopped up pretty much all of them. I've used so many of them. I love the ones for the front of the card. After I had trimmed them out, I used my Memento Tuxedo black marker just to run along the edges to coat that white cardstock just to make them look a little more finished. And as I was doing that, I was like, the butterfly still needs something. They just need something. Y'all know what's coming. I was like, they need splatter. That just has to happen. So I put all the die cut butterflies into my splat box, and I pulled out my black soot distress paint because yes, black splatter. It works, man. It really works. I love it. So shook up my distress paint really well, put a little bit on just my little plastic palette here, and then I used my fan brush and I splattered all of these butterflies with that black soot distress paint. And like I say, every time I use this paint, it does dry permanently. You immediately want to clean your brush, your palette, etc. I just clean it up with soap and water. It's good to go, because you don't want to wreck your brush because this stuff, it's the real deal. So I did my splatter, let that dry. The bodies of the butterflies, I just ran scraps of black cardstock through the embossing folder, like in the same way. I just lightly misted them, embossed them, and then die cut them with the coordinating wafer dies. I didn't bother re-embossing the bodies. I didn't think that was at all necessary. And you actually can still see like the little bits that do emboss, you know, it creates the raised little area of the head, etc. So that's how I did all of the bodies. And then I just adhered them to the butterfly wings with my craft tacky glue. And I have this one bottle of craft tacky glue. I have a fine metal tip on, and I always link to that. It'll be linked right next to the glue itself. I didn't do anything special. I just screwed the tip on. Like, opened up the bottle of glue, screwed the tip on, the metal tip, and now I have this super fine applicator. And then I just keep a little pin in it that, you know, a little sewing type pin, like a non-rustable one, because people ask me about that too. I don't have a link for the pin. I've had a set of them for years that keep walking away on me, and then I find them in random places. But anyway, I did that with the bodies, and then I adhered the butterflies to my background with Simon's Big Mama foam tape, just a little bit of dimension, plus it adheres them really well. The embossed backgrounds I have trimmed down, so I'm letting the wings like kind of hang over because right now it's smaller than my A2 card base. I adhered the sentiments also with the Big Mama foam tape. And then of course the backgrounds themselves, they also have Big Mama foam tape, which I'll get to in a second. On the insides of the cards, I adhered more of the sentiments from that Thinking of You sentiment strips, as well as one of the butterflies. And then the card fronts, peeled off the backing of the foam tape I put there, pop this into place on my card base, and then of course I'm going to add bling. And of course it's also going to be my like current sort of go-to that I have been using so much lately, which are these Studio Caudia round iridescent gems, because they go with everything. So I sprinkled those around all of these butterflies, and then I adhered them into place with dabs of Craft Tacky Glue, and then that finished these cards off. So I'm going to like show them a little close up here so you can actually see that embossing detail from the stencil, as well as the texture on the butterfly wings and just the facets of the bling. Again, these were so satisfying to create. It was so fun. But like always, I will have links below the video to my blog post. I will have a supply list with links to all the supplies I used, and on my blog there are always picture links so it's easier to navigate. So you can always check that out below if you are interested. And then I'll link to the other videos I've done so far using a couple of the other embossing folders from this release. So those will be linked at the end if you missed them. Thank you all so much for watching and subscribing and thumbs upping and commenting. I very much appreciate it. And I will see you all very soon in the next video. Bye.